Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. Thank you for tuning into another Supatease video. And guess what's back? Boomkin DH Restoration Shaman. It has been quite a long time since this composition has been kind of tearing up the PvP ladder, but it appears that it has made a comeback. This is a composition that I have been having a lot of fun recently on my balanced Druid, so if you are looking for a composition to run as a Boomkin or looking to pick up one yourself, I definitely recommend this one. It's a nice twist from the meta because we really haven't seen this composition the entire expansion, maybe not since the first season of BFA really, and one of the nice parts about it is the Necro Lord Demon Hunter. Necro Lord Demon Hunters are just pumping out so many huge numbers, and you're going to be able to support them with your instant crowd control like the Solar Beam and your peelable CC like the Cyclone, and then saving your Star Surges to combo with their burst damage. This composition just feels like you're almost playing a different expansion with the amount of pressure that you can really put out. So if you're looking for a little bit of a mix-up right now, you need to check out this composition. In this video, we're playing against Mage, Warrior, Paladin. This was kind of the meta composition for a lot of Shadowlands up until this point, so it's going to be new meta versus old meta a little bit here. And we decided to play very aggressive at the start by just running at the enemy healer and seeing what we can do. I use a Root Solar Beam to pin them in place for my Demon Hunter to jump over, and then if you stun on top of the beam, this means the Paladin can't use their wall. We Cyclone the Mage so they can't peel, and we just pump out as much damage as we can here. Could have used my Celestial Alignment, honestly. The main reason I didn't is I thought this guy was going to bubble, and you can see, like, how does he not bubble in the first second of the game with how much damage we're able to put out? And that's also attributed to the Kindred Spirits that you're going to be placing on your Necro Lord Demon Hunter. So you're both going to be getting 16% extra versatility, which is going to scale with your PvP Trinket set bonus and is going to add a tremendous amount of burst damage. So you're going to want to be using that whenever you have enough astral power to dump 2 Star Surges, or whenever you notice your partner Demon Hunter getting a ton of pressure. Here we can see the Demon Hunter into a Stormbolt. So we're going to trade Blur. We tried to use Cyclone as well to assist with crowd control. You always want to be cycloning whenever you see your healer in crowd control. Other than that, you want to be breaking up chains. Here we're going to activate Eclipse, and we're going to dump 2 of our Star Surges, so they're getting the extra bonus dip there for a little bit of extra damage. We're going to Cyclone the Warrior at low health, and we're going to push in aggressively once again at the Paladin. And that was one of the other fun parts with this comp, was that it played a lot different than a lot of the other Boomkin comps I've played, where normally you're just sitting back trying to dampen and play defense. This composition, you could play a lot more aggro and kind of run down your opponents. There were a few games that we got where we were just running at Resto Druids and pressing Purge. So if you really don't like Resto Druids, this comp actually eats them alive, especially with the Restoration Shaman variant. Now here in this specific clip, I've rooted the Warrior out of line of sight to stop him from getting to my Demon Hunter. My Demon Hunter is basically soloing the healer, and I am just trying to do as much havoc as I can to the rest of the team and try and keep up with him because he's way faster than I am. So I'm cycloning, rooting, it's cleaving down other targets, just maximizing my pressure to try and make the Paladin have to come back into my line of sight, whether it be to dispel a root or to heal the Mage or the Warrior through the damage that I'm putting out if the Paladin ever puts themselves in such a difficult position for me to actually get to. Here we can see our Shaman in a Polymorph, but we're going to use, I believe, Reverse Magic to get out of that. I'm also running the Fairy Swarm. I found the Fairy Swarm to be particularly powerful at the moment, especially into Rogue Mage. I'm using it here against the Warrior team so that if my Shaman gets put in Polymorph and I can't cast because I'm going to get interrupted, I can just disarm the Warrior to buy a couple seconds. Here I clone the Mage on our stun on the Paladin to prevent them from peeling us. We drop the Solar Beam on it so they can't use heals out of it, and we get the bubble on this attempt. So I still have my Incarnation. Up at this point, we're going to empower, dump 2 Star Surges, and swap to the Warrior to try and get a little bit of extra cleave. Probably should have saved my empowerment, honestly, at this point. With the Paladin having no bubble, I could have set up on another stun with Incarn and my empowerment. So finding those timings is really important. Here I just tell my Shaman there's no interrupts up, so we can go for a full Hex onto the Mage. Removing the Mage from the fight with Cyclone and Hex against a lot of these Mage healer teams can be a really good tactic, because then you're going to slow down their ability to reset their combusts. They're not going to be able to sheep spam you, and generally Mage can be pretty difficult to kill. The only time you're really going to kill them is if you're spam purging and running them down. Here you can see all 3 members on my team in crowd control. This is a dangerous moment in time, but because my Demon Hunter activated Blur prior to the crowd control, they're going to take a lot less damage, just enough to get out of the stun to use their personal defensive cooldown Darkness, which is good to use with the combustion. Here I use the Fairy Swarm anyways. Again, this is what I'm trying to time it whenever my Shaman is in crowd control, just as a failsafe, just an extra little mitigation. Maybe it soaks up 1 Mortal Strike 1 second sooner that would have hit for 25k. or one execute that might have hit for 25k, just trying to stall. And if they dispel the disarm, then the warrior's going to start sitting roots, and they're going to have a tough time getting back to their healer or getting back to the target they're trying to get to. So it can always just be a good cover, and then you can punch the dispel with a root later on. Here now we're just swapping to the DPS because the paladin is run so far away. We're trying to cyclone the mage so that they won't peel us while we single target down the warrior. And we have celestial alignment and we have empowerment coming up. So this is where I want to save all of my astral power. You can see that I've banked up basically an entire bar of it. I've activated my eclipse. I'm going to jump over to the paladin to try and grab the paladin in combat. Drop 1 star surge on my way over. Just make sure the paladin doesn't drink. Running healers out of mana is really good as this composition because you just do so much damage. Like, look at their team, they're all at half health. I tried knocking the paladin. Looks like I might have done it just a second too soon. I'm going to root beam the paladin behind the pillar and tell my demon hunter that we can get over to the paladin now. We can go for a kill. But we're also in a bit of trouble. Using your disarm when the paladin's CC'd is always a good idea because then they won't be able to dispel it. But now finally my demon hunter is beginning to stabilize. I've got maximum astral power. I'm going to drop my Fury of Elune. I'm going to pop celestial alignment, empowerment. I'm going to dump all of my star surges. And I really found it hard to believe that this guy managed to heal through this, because this is usually like the highest amount of damage that you can do in the game as a boomkin. But he just managed to walk it off. And use a divine toll and recover. That was kind of me going for the kill. He still did have a trinket to escape from the stun. As soon as the paladins escaped, I'm just going to switch back to the mage. Mage is down to half. Guess what? Mage is using altar time running away. I'm just going to immediately turn over to the warrior. I'm going to start cranking the warrior down with the remainder of my celestial alignment. You never really want to just be stopping your damage entirely, even though the paladin is kind of like the focus target. If the paladin gets too far away, you don't want to just be standing there doing nothing. In my mind, because especially against paladin or druid or priest, really any healer, your fail safe is to run them out of mana. So if you can't blast them down in a stun, you just want to be burning their mana. Here we use Typhoon to interrupt the polymorph onto the shaman to stop the chain a little bit, to break up the damage and get Earthshield back up, get a Riptide back up. And that's a really good use of Typhoon and utility. It's way better to stop polymorphs after they've landed one. It's way better to interrupt the second one. This way your shaman is on diminishing return for some time, and they're going to get this grace period where they can do basically whatever they want. Flame Shock, Lava Burst, Spam Purge, start getting a little bit more aggressive. Here we use Disarm to bait the paladin to come back and dispel rather than continue to drink, and also now they're stunned, so the warrior isn't going to get too much value. It was on the Warbreaker as well. This little cooldown right here with 38 seconds on it. You do want to chime your disarms and your roots around that. Here I probably shouldn't have broken the root. It would have been better to just let the warrior sit the root and dash back into the paladin's line of sight, but I swapped back to the warrior. We're trying to build up astral power so that we can get this empowerment, but our shaman's in a polymorph, our demon hunter is in a stun, and it's combustion. So this is a very scary moment, and my demon hunter basically went to the ends of the world chasing this paladin. So I think this is respecting the combust, trinketing, using nether walk, and then being completely immune. So your demon hunter can kind of play however they want, a little bit YOLO, as long as they have access to their trinket and their nether walk, because that's going to be their ice block. They're totally immune to damage. But as soon as they don't have that, they may want to be a little bit more careful. Then we're going to swap to the mage out of the cyclone, set up some damage with the Necrolord Demon Hunter. Whenever you see one of these demons come in, you know they're about to do a lot of damage. They're going to pop that demon with Throglaive, pick up a soul on the ground that's going to give them 20% more damage, and they're just going to crank out damage for the next little bit. Now, this Mage and Warrior did a great job of just zoning us away while the Paladin drank, which means that this game is going to go on a little bit longer. But even still, if it goes on a little bit longer, you could still just win in dampening with this composition. Your shaman's mana is almost limitless. There's very few comps in the game right now that can run a shaman out of mana, potentially something like a Ret Warrior. But we're just cranking damage, splitting on 2 targets. And you can see that you can pretty much just like fire at will with this comp in a way. If your Demon Hunter says they're going for a stun setup, you want to coordinate with them, you can. But I also think just fire at will so that the enemy healers don't know what's going on, run out of mana, overextend. Here we went for a mass root. Unfortunately, it was freedomed, so you need to really be careful about that against paladin healers, is when they use their freedoms on themselves to immune their solar beams, because this could have been the end of the game. If I saved this root beam for after the freedom here, we got ice block, we got parry, right? We got every single cooldown. So it wasn't really the end of the world that the paladin drank, because we got so many important defensive cooldowns from them that they're going to have to now be careful pushing in. Spell Reflect is a threat you're going to need to be worried about. I went for a clone here because my Demon Hunter was taking a bunch of damage. So you do want to try and fake that. You can track it on the Omnibar here with 20 seconds left, so you can know when you can safely Cyclone and when you can't. If you're really worried about getting Cyclone, then again, the Fairy Swarm or a Root is a better fallback, because if those are reflected, not the end of the world, then you just go for a Cyclone. If they aren't reflected, then the guy's disarmed and rooted, or until their healer can dispel them. Here the mage is pulling back up top with the paladin, so I'm just trying to root the warrior before I make my move up top. Fortunately, I get interrupted. Mage blinks down to me, so I'm going to dump out a bunch of Star Surges over onto the mage, which is the target of the Demon Hunter. Try and add as much as I can. Go for a Cyclone cast. Pummel's out of the way. Spell Reflect is down. Don't need to worry about faking. We stun the mage, and now we can blast the mage without having to worry about the warrior on our back, disrupting us or just killing us. Here we can see the mage blinking for polymorph, so I tried to preemptively peel. They interrupt it, but we have reverse. So reverse is going to reverse poly, and then we can in-cap the next poly, and we can maybe sprint our team. Fortunately, they were out of range. I think the sprint hit the shaman here. Paladin runs in for blinding light. We're already on diminishing return from the dragon's breath. Now we're just looking for cyclones. There's no interrupt, but there is a spell reflect. He thought I was casting the clone on him, so he spell reflected. Ended up getting my disarm, which is really unfortunate because that would have been a cyclone pally disarm warrior, would have been a lot of value. Now we're going to cyclone the mage at low health. The main reason for this is that the paladin has Avenging Wrath, and this is a full heal. At any time, this paladin can heal this mage to full. So I'm just trying to cyclone the mage at low health and slow down the heal. Then we paralyze the paladin to stop them from connecting that heal that's going to heal them to full. We're going to pop a bunch of cooldowns with our empowerment, Fury of Elune, and try and finish the mage. Wasn't enough damage to score the kill just at that moment in time. We chain it into a stun. We root the whole team, trying to chase them down at this point. And then go for a cyclone again, switch it over to the paladin, and try and just push them over because we get that ice block earlier and we got the die by the sword earlier. So kind of getting cauterized here, trying to proc the wild seed is going to be the name of the game, but we weren't able to. Paladin denies it despite all of that crowd control. And now that they've recovered, we need to get ready for defense. So here we can see a pre-blur utilized by the Demon Hunter onto the Stormbolt. With pre-blur, we still want a cyclone. It doesn't matter even if we've used a defensive cooldown. It's still a good idea to make sure that the enemies are crowd controlled while your healer can't heal. Then we cyclone the mage. We disarm the warrior. This is stopping a lot of damage. We stun the paladin. Everyone's in crowd control, and our Demon Hunter can start to run away. We're just going to take this free time to get into Solar Eclipse, which can be an awkward one to get into when there's nothing going on, and I can free cast Starfire there. It's a good time to just get into Solar so I can get my cycle going back the other way, because getting into Solar can be really annoying sometimes, especially if you're not the target. And then I'm just going to be 1v1ing the warrior in the back. Kind of have to bark skin randomly here. It wasn't really any cooldowns, but we're 30 seconds to the dampening. Probably wasn't used to me being the target because I'm really not the focus target of this team. Seems like the Demon Hunter has been for some time. That's the other nice part about this comp is that it's very sturdy, especially into these mage teams. So if you really want to try and pick up a comp to battle against the meta, this is one that's definitely on the rise. Seems like you can play almost any healer with it as well. Mistweaver, Druid. Here I go for a Cyclone because I see my Shaman and CC. They spell reflect it, but I'm the target. So I don't care if it spell reflects because I'm immune to damage now. I've basically ice blocked myself for 6 seconds. And then after this, I can disarm the warrior. I can go into bear form. I can use Frenzied Regeneration. I could use my Kyrian Vial if I really need to here, and try and get an extra heal over time effect through my conduits. It's going to do a lot of extra healing. Incap the warrior. Try and knock the warrior off of me. Just tank him out in bear form. Try and use Iron Fur. Use all of your abilities that you can when you're in bear form. It's something you definitely want to try and min-max whenever you're pinned, so your Thrash and your Mangles and your Iron Furs. Then we're going to pop Incarn, and we're going to pop our Empowerment and just gun down the Mage. Just maximum damn. We didn't even go for much CC. We imprisoned the Paladin, and Paladin has to bubble sack. Sometimes it's just better to shove a bunch of damage is what I started to learn with this comp, rather than sitting on it and waiting for the perfect moment. Because sometimes you'll just kill through cooldowns. Sometimes you'll just catch somebody off guard and one-shot them. So if you're kind of always just sitting there waiting for the perfect moment, not always the best as this comp. You're going to want to pick up these little ghost guys that spawn if you're playing Kyrian. So that little guy there, that blue beam that just shot at me, if you face that target, it's going to give you a bunch of intellect, which is going to help your damage. We solar beam the healer. And then we're going to try and push for the kill. We got bubble earlier. Paladin has no trinket. We waited for the freedoms. So the Paladin's stuck in solar beam. I could have stayed up here and tried to crowd control the Paladin further with Incap and with Cyclone. Probably should have and just let my Demon Hunter do the damage rather than jumping down and chasing the Mage. But with the Warrior on my back, it was looking like I wasn't going to be able to cast a Cyclone. We used the Demon Hunter stun. I just switched back to the Warrior. Again, still the failsafe is just run the Paladin out of mana, even though we just got everything from the Mage. If I can't catch up to the Mage up there, I'd rather just max out my damage on the Warrior. Jump into bear form because I see the Warbreaker, this icon right here. And I saw my Shaman get CC'd, so I'm just pulling away, making sure I'm safe from the cooldown. Rather be safe than sorry against a lot of the cooldowns in the game right now. Like, there's sometimes where I'm thinking like, oh, I'm safe, I'm 100% HP. my healer's going to be able to pick me up. Everything's going to be fine. And then suddenly it's not. Here you can see Spear of Bastion on the ground, that circle, Combustion, the fire icon from the Mage. So we want to be in bear form. We want to be using Bark Skin. We want to be using Frenzied Regen if we have it. Iron Furs if we have it. All of our bear buttons to try and maximize our mitigation to survive all our Shaman's crowd control during their hardest hitting attacks. But if we manage to make it through all of these attacks, then we're going to be in a good position because their damage is going to fall off a cliff. And their Paladin's now out in the open. Their Mage and Warrior are out in the open. They're almost out of mana. Dampening is quite high, so we have them in a position where we could really tear in a bunch of pressure in a moment. Demon just procced from the Demon Hunter. We see that little ghost guy to the left. Not even sure if I picked up this little ghost guy to the left. I definitely should have. I think I accidentally. Oh, there we go. We pick up the ghost guy that spawns. He's going to give us a big stat boost, which is going to help our damage here with the empowerment. And finally, our shaman is out of crowd control. We stun the mage. We're going to get our dots up back onto targets because we've been stuck in bear form for so long. And then we're going to go for the Fury of Elune empowerment. Paladin starts drinking. We need to stop this. They Stormbolt me to stop me from stopping the drink. And they go for Warbreaker. So here we could not really do too much. We end up using Root. I think I called for Root at that point. So your Shaman has a Root and you have a Root. I'm going to Innervate the Shaman. This way the Shaman can spam Purge. That's definitely one of the best ways to use Innervate with the Shaman, especially against Mage. We use Solar Beam to lock Poly because we're in dampening at this point. Any amount of damage is basically just going to overwhelm the Paladin. It's going to fry the Paladin. You don't really need to crowd control. You need to stop them from controlling you so that you can just connect your damage. So use Alter, we Purge it, then we push through, we force Ice Block. We can swap back over to the Warrior as well, or over to the Paladin. So again, just shoving damage seemed to be the best way to do this, and just put pressure onto the board. Now we can see the Mage is trying to sheep again, so we're going to try and pull away and try and get into a better position to line of sight if they do end up landing crowd control in this position. Could have done a better job at picking these little balls off the ground. These blue balls on the ground extend your Kindred Spirits, so you really want to pick them up because that's going to extend the 16% versatility. And I think, okay, so I ended up picking them up towards the end of it, but you definitely want to pay attention to those. As Kyrian, these are kind of like the mini games you're playing in Arena, or when that little ghost thing spawns and when the blue balls are on the ground. Here we're going to use our Trinket. We're going to disarm the Warrior. We tried to jump before the Sphere of Bastion, but weren't able to escape. We're going to use Darkness, and I'm going to use Barkskin as well, just because dampening is so high. And then Frenzied Regen while my Shaman is CC'd. Sit in bear form, Iron Fur, use my bear buttons, try and tank out the damage in the darkness, and then I want to root the Warrior and I want to move away and try and escape. Warrior uses Blade Storm. Paladin is now at 10% mana. Our Shaman is still at 50%. So we're in a great position to be able to just kind of overrun them. We just need to make sure that we don't die. We still have Trinket and Spirit Link in our back pocket. We have the Mage at 68% health with no Ice Block. Our Empowerment coming up in about 9 seconds. So we can shoot that out over onto our Demon Hunter, and they'll likely be able to close out the game. We're just trying to cast Starfires here when not much is happening to get Solar Eclipse so we can boost up our damage. And then here you may want to save your Star Surges because Intervene gives Safeguard to the target, which reduces damage. So I'm watching the Safeguard on the Mage, and I'm waiting for the Safeguard to end right here. And then when the Safeguard has ended, then I want to dump all of my Star Surges so that extra little damage reduction mitigation isn't there. It's really important that you maximize the damage from your Star Surges because that is where all of your kill pressure comes from. So anytime you can min-max it there, you want to. And then we just dump damage. Paladin's trying to drink and get mana. We dump damage. We're going to kill the seed immediately afterwards. Warrior was still rotted down, and we just did a tremendous amount of overall damage. What the nice part about this composition is that it feels like a good balance between a setup comp and a pressure comp. So something that's been missing from the game in my mind has been kind of this rot pressure comp style, and this is the first time that I really felt like it was there, you know. So if you're looking for a unique playstyle, powerful composition, something new to try right now in the downtime of the patch, then definitely check out this composition. Very powerful at the moment, and I think as teams begin to practice it, we may see a lot more of it. Like I said, it was very fun to play into Druids. I actually kind of wonder if I have a clip of us going into a Druid at all here, because we were just able to run them down so fast that it was kind of hilarious. Let me just see if we can find a game with a Druid. Where's the Druid games? This is the Ret Warrior that gave us a run for our money towards the end of this. Let's see, where is it? I know there's a Druid in here. Because they one-shot me on one game, but then we ended up getting them back, I think, by just running down the Druid. So like right here in this game, and we'll just keep it kind of short. we were able to just kind of W key at Resto Druids. They just send the Demon Hunter onto the Resto Druid, keep dots on the DPS, push up onto the Resto Druids, and then as soon as our Shaman becomes more stable, we just dump all our damage onto the Druid. We don't care about Frenzied Regen. We don't care about Hots. We don't care about Bark Skins. We kind of care about Tranquility Bubbles because we can't really do anything about it, but we basically got every cooldown from this Druid in the opener of this game. And then we were able to just completely run them over, which was insane to me. And then we're just keeping pressure up onto the other targets, trying to balance keeping the Shaman alive as well as getting purges out. Very important to get the purges. I use Typhoon here and tell my Shaman to run to the top of the bridge. We can also use our mass roots to root all the targets and try and get our Shaman away from the melee DPS. And then we're still just going to run down the Druid. Demon Hunter's chasing him. He's down at 10%, has no hots, running for his life. He's already used Trank Bubble, Barkskin, Trinket. Really running out of options. Battle Master's about to fall. The final cooldown, and even through Barkskin, we still just continue running him down. Like, we just absolutely didn't care. Just kept running at the Druid. Something I had to readjust to because I'm not used to doing this as a Boomkin. This is usually kind of like the Zug melee cleave strat, but it was very effective. So if you're tired of these long games against Druids, I would definitely recommend this because you just kill them so quickly. They pop out a little big heal, they get stunned again, they're immediately right back down to low health, proc another demon, just keep dumping out as much damage as we can. They use Intervene, Rally, they try and wrap around the corner to stay alive here a little bit longer, but I think we end up catching up to them, using Thorns on my Shaman so that then the Druid needs to come back and heal the Warrior and the Death Knight because they're going to be attacking into Thorns, and otherwise they're going to die. I'm trying to remember exactly when we got the kill here. Did we end up killing the Warrior actually in this clip? I think, okay, so yeah, so this ends up happening. The Druid is just so petrified from the previous games that we had against the Druid of just running them down. They ran like 80 yards away, and then we just used Thorns on the Shaman they're tunneling. So if you want to get kind of vengeance on these teams that tunnel your healer, running the Thorns can be a good way. Chase their healer far away, then Thorns, then come back, and then just watch them basically shred themselves on Thorns. But regardless, this is a really fun composition. Definitely recommend checking it out and giving it a try. Thank you very much for watching the video. If you did enjoy it, please leave a thumbs up and subscribe. I do my best to leave guides and patch updates and opinions here of the game so that to enhance your experience with World of Warcraft. So if you want to make sure you're having the best time with the game or piquing your interest in it in the future, then make sure you hit the subscribe button. Other than that, thank you very much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.